This is Jeremy here on Metal Music Meltdown, back with another video. What we have for today, guys, is something a little bit different. I just wanted to do a kind of a quick recap on the year in metal so far. I was kind of thinking with this when I did my last couple album reviews and kind of went back through the year to kind of see what was released, and it's just been a killer year for metal, guys. This is completely based on my taste in metal, so it might be different for you guys, or for you it might be a shitty year for metal technically. But it's been a killer year for thrash metal, which is my favorite subgenre. For like a lot of legacy bands coming back after many years, putting out albums. Just a good mix of like thrash, traditional metal, death metal. I'm really into black metal, so I don't really include that, but just some banger albums this year, guys. There's so many good releases that I almost forgot about certain albums. Like when I kind of went through in my memory of what came out this year, I completely forgot that Priest had a new album this year, and they're like a behemoth in the metal world. Bruce Dickinson had a solo record this year. I completely forgot. And just like even albums like that went out of my memory because so many other albums have come out since then. They have just overshadowed it. So yeah, let's kind of just talk about what came out this year. This is off the top of my memory. I'm not really prepared, guys. I just wanted to kind of do this as an impromptu kind of discussion. But I'm a huge thrash metal head. Let's talk about what came out in thrash metal. Morbid Saint had a killer album. Evil Dead had a killer album this year. Atrophy came back after like 27 years with a banger of a fucking album. Holyside had a killer album this year. Who else? Exhorder had an album this year, killer stuff. Hyrax had a really good EP came out this year, really good. I'm sure there's another band I'm forgetting for thrash, but off the top of my head, those are all just killer albums. Let's jump over to traditional metal. We had the Priest album. We had the Saxon album, which was fucking killer in January. Love that album. The Bruce Dickinson solo project album, Mandrake Project, killer album. We had, who else? Accept had Humanoid, another killer album. And then on top of these great albums, on the higher end levels, the albums I call every year that have the wow factor, the albums that really grab you, really blew you away, and really stick with you and are clearly like kind of the front runners for your end list. I had like 6 or 7 of those this year, which normally doesn't happen. Most years I have like 2 or 3 that really stand out. I've had at least 6 or 7, and there's still some super heavy hitters to do out still that haven't been released yet. Like the new Evergrey blew me away. The new High on Fire is a banger, wow factor album. The new Lucifer, another one that blew me away. The new Dark Tranquillity, another monster album. The new Ancient album that just dropped, I just did the review for. First one after 8 years, fucking monster album. And a band that's been under my radar here in Toronto, that one of my subscribers, shout out to Pete, who brought it to my attention, a band called Fracture. Never heard of them before. I checked them out, blew me away. Might be my #1 album of the year, possibly. And I never even heard of them until like a couple months ago. Just so many good stuff. Let's talk about black and speed metal, one of my other favorite subgenres of metal. All 3 of my favorite bands have albums this year in that subgenre. Midnight's already put out Hellas Expectations, killer album. Wraith already put out their album as well this year. Another monster release for me. And Bewitcher is still due out to have an album. Let's not even discuss what's already come out. Normally by this time of the year, there's only like 2 or 3 more releases. Usually I'm kind of looking forward to, but there's so many heavy hitters that haven't even come out yet. Bewitcher, I'm super pumped for in September. End of September it comes out. We still have Satan that has an album due out this year. We have Flotsam and Jetsam has an album coming in still. Opeth, my favorite band of all time, has an album coming out in October still. Who else? Nightwish has an album coming out. Corrosive's album is dropping on Tuesday. Local Toronto thrash band. Fucking love this band. I'm highly anticipated. I've already pre-ordered that. It's on its way this week, but super pumped for that album. Another monster album that could really shake up my list. Like any of those 5 albums I mentioned could replace who knows what on my list that I've already checked out this year. Another Wow Factor album that I forgot about, Crypt Sermon, doom metal, epic doom metal band, Crypt Sermon. God, their new album was a monster. Another one that was like a Wow Factor album for me. Even bands like some albums I wasn't super anticipating myself per se, were just like another couple albums I really had high expectations and just had a bit of impact on the metal scene as a whole. Kerry King's first solo record after Slayer broke up, monster release. And then finally, after 12 years, Winter Sun finally put out Time Part 2. Like, that was just a monster occurrence in the metal world as well. Huge, like, it's just been one of those weird years where everything is just like crazy epic. But for like thrash, like Suicidal Angels, I think I forgot about them, had a monster album. Evil Dead, Atrophy, Exhorder, Morbid Saint. I forgot about Suicidal Angels was another monster thrash album that came out this year. Holocide, if I didn't mention them already. Just so much good albums. But yeah, let me see what else was here. Well, Riot 5, another great traditional metal band. That was a killer album. It was too. Mean Streets, it was called. Really, really good stuff. Rage had an album this year. Sorry guys, I should be more prepared. Hammerfall had an album this year. What else? High on Fire, I mentioned, was a banger. Deicide had one. That's not one I really checked out, but that's a big band as well. I didn't really check that one out myself personally. But yeah, just want to kind of talk about what came out and if anyone else was kind of having the same feeling, like Evergrey I mentioned. But list down below, guys, albums that really blew your mind this year. Like I said, for me, it was High on Fire, Lucifer, Evergrey, Fracture, the new Dark Tranquillity, the new Ancients. All ones that blew my mind. And then on top of that, the thrash albums, Morbid Saint, Suicidal Angels, Evil Dead, Atrophy, Holocide, Exhorder, Hyrax. Like, list down below, guys, what kind of albums blew you away, because is it just me, or has it just been like the best year in metal in the last like 10 years? Like I said, Midnight, Wraith, like so many banger albums this year. But please, guys, Deep Purple, like I mentioned. I just feel like I'm forgetting something that I want to mention that I'm going to kill myself for not mentioning afterwards. And like I said, still throughout, we have Opeth, my favorite band. Not High on Fire, Flotsam and Jetsam, Satan. Like I mentioned, like even at this time of the year, there's so many big albums. Emphysserum, Grand Magus has a new album still coming out. The Crown has a new album coming out. Fucking super pumped for that one. There's so many like heavy hitter albums coming out still this late in the year that just blows me away. So let me know down below, guys, what albums kind of give you that wow factor this year. Maybe there's something I'm overlooking that I forgot to mention. I should have been a little bit more prepared. I'm sure there's albums that blew me away that I'm not mentioning that I kind of forgot. Cryptos was another one, kind of a thrash metal band that was really good. Crystal Viper had an album this year, really good stuff. Kitty, the Canadian band, had an album this year after many years, really cool stuff as well. Like, it's just endless. Like, every time I look through the releases this year, it just blows my mind what came out. But yeah, that's all I'll mention for now, guys. This is a little bit of a chat I wanted to have. Just kind of going over albums that really kind of blew me away this year. And it's just overwhelming how good of a year it's been for metal. And, but yeah, let me know down below, what your kind of mind-blowing albums were this year. I definitely want to check them out. And thanks for listening, guys. Keep it metal.